There you are, Raz. You're on stage on Clubhouse as well.
Yeah, cool. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you both, I think, but I think I have to live with that.
Oh, I can hear myself.
Oh, I hear both of them too.
JC, you can hear. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone who's come in our audience. We are. It is Agile Coaching Mastery, Psychological Safety Part 2. We're about to go to a live recording, and just want to encourage you, if this is an area you want to contribute in, we're going to ask a lot of questions. Feel free to come up on stage. All you have to do that is put your hand up card, almost like a yellow card in football kind of icon. If you press that, you will get me as a moderator or Raz as a moderator to bring you up on stage, and you can ask your question, you can contribute. I'll try and bring you up as soon as I can. We usually run for about 25 minutes in total. That's a bit of a background on that. We do psychological safety. And Ricardo, I thought we'd just go through your 4 levels.
Oh yeah, we can go through that. I actually found that someone wrote a book about the 4 levels. I thought they were mine.
Okay.
I think either great minds think alike, or I have a short memory about where I read stuff.
There is a word for this.
I claim them to be my 4 levels.
Yeah, there's a word for this. I can go and find it somewhere. It is where although you genuinely think you made it up, but actually somebody else did inform you of it earlier and you didn't know that. There's a phrase for it that it's a bit like cognizance, and that's not the phrase. Because N.J. Parker, who believes he came up with, if it's not, everything will be right in the end. If it's not all right, it's just not the end. He is certain he wrote that for the Best Exotic Marigold Best Exotic Marigold Hotel, struggling whilst, literally, he says he wrote it whilst they were recording because of how hard the recording was, and yet loads of people attribute it to John Lennon. Literally, he says he wrote it whilst they were recording because of how hard the recording was, and yet loads of people attribute it to John Lennon. Okay, I'm hearing a really late echo of my voice, Raz.
Yeah, it's my phone. I'm checking the YouTube feed.
Really late echo,
Okay,
echo,
cool.
echo.
I'm going to shut it off. Yeah.
All right, we're all good to go. So the basic format is I'm going to sort of host the start, but then I'm going to say, Ricardo, tell us about your 4 levels, chat that through, yeah? Bring people up. Yeah. What's level 1, what's level 2? Everyone happy with that? Okay. Ricardo, you good to go?
Yeah.
Raz, are we good to go?
All good.
Okay. And members of Clubhouse, we're just about to start the live recording. Again, just want to encourage you, if you have any thoughts, we love contributions. You've no idea how much it makes us happy. So please make sure, if you want to say something or come up on stage, please press that button. We'll bring you up. We will literally interrupt whatever we were doing to talk to you. That is how important questions and feedback and observations is. So, okay, all good to go? Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good grief. It is another Agile Coaching Mastery podcast.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Agile Coaching Mastery podcast.
Well, thank you. And the really good news is Ricardo, who was really unwell last week, is back with us. Hello, Ricardo.
Hey, and I have news. It was not COVID. I still didn't manage to get it.
You still haven't managed to get COVID?
No, I still haven't managed to get COVID.
My son may have it. We'll see. He's doing a test right now. So are you better, mate?
Much better.
Good. So we're in part 2 of what I think might be 4 parts, actually, psychological safety. It's a fantastic topic to circle around and look at all different angles on. Welcome along as well, by the way. Lovely to see you. And I see you've got a new You got a new icon on Clubhouse in very nice purple I've not seen before. So hello, Alina.
Hey guys, hi Ian, hi Ricardo. I don't see you in Clubhouse, but I heard your voice, so nice to see you guys.
Lovely to have you on stage already. So we talked a little bit about psychological safety, some parameters last week. Raz, is there anything from last week you want to bring up or mention, or shall we just go straight to the heart of talking to Ricardo today? Yeah.
I have to pay back for the missing last week.
Yeah, so you've talked on previous clubhouses and things with me, Ricardo, about 4 levels of psychological safety. So let's do a mastermind kind of, name, Ricardo, specialist subject, 4 levels of correct, and all that sort of stuff that comes from Magnus Mac. I ought to have got some mastermind music ready. That would have been a thing to do, wouldn't it? Anyway, tell us about these 4 levels. I've heard you talk about this before and loved it.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that the first time I talked about it, I thought I was pulling it out of my head. And in preparation for this podcast, I decided to Google it, and I found out there is even a book written about it.
And it's the same 4 levels you always talk about?
Yeah, exactly the same 4 levels. So I must have read it, forgotten that I read it, and then pulled it out of my head. So,
unless the person has listened to a podcast of ours or a Clubhouse meeting and suddenly went, "That's a good idea. I'll write a book very quickly."
Check the date on the book.
You should check the date on the book, mate.
Yeah, I will do. But the book is by Timothy R. Clark, and it's the 4 stages of psychological safety. So
yeah, when you said it last time, I remember thinking that sounds like it's something I ought to know and don't know well enough. So,
so I'm definitely going to read the book. I know I didn't read the book, but so the first stage of psychological safety is inclusion safety. And that has not necessarily to do with teams, just feeling that you are a part of the group, that you are accepted for who you are. And in that, there were lots of problems over time with people of different races, and later with women and men. But I think it's the basic foundation. You have to be accepted in the team as a human being.
So that's level 1, inclusion safety. Is it possible that I could feel excluded because of my personality, even though that's not the case really? I mean, I wonder, I think of some of my original backgrounds. For those who don't know, I did have some troubling history in my life when I grew up, very bad. And therefore, for a lot of time, I didn't feel included in anything. But maybe that was my problem, not other people's.
Yeah, it means that you don't have, that you can be in the group without fear of being rejected, embarrassed, punished. So yeah, it could be because of your personality, not just your color or gender.
Yeah, I mean, Kurt Lewin, his book on theory of human behavior said, your behavior is a product of your environment plus your personality. So maybe there's a bit of that about that as well. So level 1 is really, I feel included. I feel like I can be here. I don't feel excluded. I feel appreciated, wanted, and safe.
Exactly.
Okay. So I'm already wondering about my marriage, whether I've got to inclusion safety yet. We'll see.
Maybe you got to the other level. I don't think these levels actually are totally exclusive. So it's interesting to go through them.
Okay.
The second is it's safe to ask stupid questions level, the learner safety. The ability to learn as part of the group without being criticized. The ability to feel safe to ask any question. The ability to feel safe, though you don't know as much as the other people in the group, because they trust you that you're going to learn and become just as proficient as them.
So if level 1 is safe to be, presumably level 2 is safe to ask.
Exactly. Safe to ask. Very good one.
Okay. So that's the second level. Do teams go through this, or is it an individual thing, do you think? Do you think could I as a team coach look at this and go, is this team at level 1 or level 2, or do you think it's individuals?
It's individuals, but I think the team itself, each of the individuals has to go through these 4 stages. So you could kind of do an average across the team. You could ask, is it safe to learn in this team? There could be a culture in a team that removes that level, but normally that would be because of a couple of toxic elements in the team, for example.
Such as?
So yeah, you can think of it as team level.
So you could, okay, so you could say that the team is roughly at this level 2, or they've achieved level 2,
Yeah.
but individuals may not be there yet. An individual
Yeah.
may be behind that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you mentioned a few toxics.
Yeah.
So just
No,
for...
what I said is, if you see a team where learning is not safe, most of the cases I've seen of that were teams where you had joined a few individuals with a difficult personality that knew a lot about the subject and that would call the other people idiots because they didn't know. So in those teams, you'll have to work not with the people that don't feel safe, but with the older contributors or the more knowledgeable contributors, for them to create that safe to ask environment so the other members can grow.
Yeah, I don't know what other people on the call feel, but I've definitely felt, I've been talking to people sometimes and I go, so we have to devolve decision making down the organization. I literally heard the COO go, no, we can't do that. They're all useless morons.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I thought, I bet there's no psychological safety in his team.
Oh, some symptoms of these would be people calling something a stupid question or saying, didn't you ask that already last week? Those would be terrible symptoms of these not being in that team.
So if it's an open question to anyone really, including JC, you're up on stage, and Lena. If you were in a team where you saw someone being that toxic, what would you do about it? Happy to take any thoughts.
I can
I'll
jump
wait to
in.
see if someone answers.
Yeah, Aina, go ahead.
Yeah, so first, I won't do anything. I would observe and try to identify the root cause of this toxicity. Sometimes the person is scared, him or herself, and just in denial and doesn't want to admit it. Sometimes this person realizes what is happening, but this is just like a reaction to the external threat or I don't know, something. Sometimes it's something is going on in his or her family, so there could be like many reasons. So first I kind of like observe myself, and if I jump into conclusion or I don't jump into conclusion, I try to talk one-on-one, but don't address toxicity. I just talk about neutral topics and try to figure out the root cause. And maybe I can touch like next time on one-on-one that this behavior is kind of toxic, and most time people are not aware about it. And like a next level to have like a team retro and talk about toxic behaviors on a team meeting. And so it's kind of like a brief what I do. It's like very complicated in reality, but don't want to take long time.
Okay, so your first step there, Aina, is don't assume people are being toxic deliberately. Find out a bit more about what's going on. That sounds very useful advice, Ricardo.
Yeah. Start with why. The only thing I would do different than Aina, for these kinds of problems, I might not wait for the one-on-one, depending on how bad it was. Because if it is closer to the incident, it will be closer to memory. But it all depends.
You're right there. I
There's
think that's a
never-
really good point to bring out. Not that we don't agree with Aina at all, but there may be a need to correct something very quickly in a team if you're trying to get something sorted. And
Yeah, I agree. When the situation is really bad, we need to react right away. I was talking when it's not bad, when we still have some time to figure it out. But if we need to react, so we just have to react.
Yeah, I guess I can admit occasionally, well, although my coaching stances are very inclusive, I can admit occasionally I've almost picked a challenge deliberately with someone who's done that. And as it were, how can I put it? Drew the fire to me to protect someone else. I've done that. I've occasionally done that when I've gone, deliberately gone, the only idiot in the room is you for asking a silly question like that. So far, I mean, deliberately, because particularly I want to protect the team, I don't know if that's good or bad, to be honest. It's probably not. I probably shouldn't talk about that as being something I do on a mastery call, but I do it. I occasionally have done it, certainly.
I can add something to it.
Go ahead, mate.
What I do is also ask the team how they feel about it and highlight it and ask probably if there is any sort of team contract or charter that define in the past, that highlight the deal breakers, and empower them to make a collective decision. And like what you said, Ricardo, if it's a very terrible and damaging thing happening, so we can do on a spot thing and just do a timeout. Let's just talk about it, because this is what I'm observing.
Yeah,
You're making a good
point. Yeah, if it was behavior of one element of the team, I would do it after the meeting. If I was observing the behaviors coming from a clique in the team, I remember Hashem had a team like that. There were 3 elements in the team that were always bringing down the work of the other 4. And then I would bring it there on the spot, because I wouldn't want to do it one-on-one with the other 3. So like everything in coaching, it depends, right?
That's the right answer. I guess, Ricardo, my thought on, Raz, my thought on what you said is, I might turn it to the team if I think the team had got to level 3 apart from this behavior, because I think maybe before I go, this is a team problem, what do the team think? I probably want to think, where's the team overall on this? Because if they don't even feel inclusion safety, level 1, safe to be, asking the team what they think about someone's toxic behavior, my observation would be you probably wouldn't get a good response if they don't feel they can comment on it, because they.
Yeah.
So okay. So level 1, safe to be. Level 2, safe to ask or learner safety.
Yeah. And level 3, contributor safety.
Okay, I need to safe to something. Safe to give. How about safe to give? Would that be a
safe
good
to give.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is we don't like micromanagement level. So it's the safety to bring your own opinion, the safety to want to contribute in your way and to be accepted. In teams that are micromanaged, you don't see this, because you are told you need to do that way. And that makes it never become a high performance team. So the other 2 are kind of very basic fundamentals of becoming a team. But if you, at level 3 is where you start to see the possibility of creating a high performance team, because then people are safe to explore, people are safe to contribute not in the same way that was contributed before, to have their contribution accepted.
I think that level of safe to give, it also is, in my mind, it's got a safe to expand myself. So perhaps before then, I've always felt I was a cog in a mechanism, and I could only be the cog. Suddenly, I've got a point to be a different cog, or a bigger cog, or a cog that is more tuned to who I am. And that's where high performance, I guess, comes from, which is the ability for everyone together to contribute more than they start to contribute.
Yeah. And that takes us to level 4, which is where the real high performance comes, which is safe to challenge the status quo.
Okay, so level 3 is safe to redo who I am, and level 4 is safe to challenge everything, I guess.
Yeah.
So
let's try this a totally different way. Let's stop doing this and start doing that.
Why do we do it like that? Because we've always done it like that, Ian. Okay, thank you. So safe to be, safe to ask, safe to give, and then the final one presumably is safe to challenge.
Yeah, safe to challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So
I always think that level 3 and level 4 have a bit of an intersection, because if you are safe to give, you have to give the way that it was always given. But I think safe to challenge is a bit stronger.
So if you were drawing
framework, there is a bit of an intersection.
Yeah, if you were drawing this, it certainly ain't is it linear? Do you go through level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4?
Yeah, can you contribute safely without being able to learn first? I think chronologically, yes, but I think you could already be in a place where you are able to contribute, but it's still a bit not safe to ask questions. Imagine you're hired as a specialist and you can contribute, but then if you ask a question, someone calls you stupid. So it is possible that you skipped a bit of level 2, but by having high contributors, you could be at level 3 without having the level 2. And then if you want to create cross-functionality, you need the level 2.
In a very toxic way.
Say again, please, Raz. I think we didn't quite hear you.
Yeah, you can challenge the status quo in a very toxic way. You're still challenging the status quo, right? You're feeling safe to challenge, but you're shutting down others.
Yeah, if you were like a real, opinionated architect, for example, you might arrogantly challenge everything all the time. That doesn't mean it's a safe environment for you or anyone else, but you're doing it. Yeah. Okay. So that makes me think it is a little bit built. One's built on the next. Maybe a triangle, pyramid, where the lowest level is inclusion safety, and then up from there is learner safety, and then maybe contributor and challenge can be interwoven a bit more. Would that work? Would you see it that way,
In my
Ricardo?
mind, the picture was more like a target where you grow
Okay,
the
a
four
target.
circles one inside the other.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense than my view. So imagine a target where the inner one is inclusion. Once you've got that, you can move to learner. Once you've got that, you
But
can
you
move.
might not move in a perfect circle. So it could be that you're moving as a blob until you get to the full circle.
Yeah. So like
if you think the corner, like a radar chart in a way.
Yeah.
The corners of the radar would be the team elements. So you could use that. So you if you wanted to use this as a tool, you could look at you could draw a radar chart and see how each member of the team is feeling. And you could have an element that is new and that is feeling on level 1. And then you say, okay, if this guy is not feeling included in the team, what do I need to do to the other people to let them feel included? So that could be one perspective, and you would be happy when the radar chart has all for everyone in the 4 levels.
Yeah. So I think what I've learned from you is that these 4 levels can be understood at a team level and individuals within the team, and possibly the team and the individuals can interact. So you might find that someone in the team is only at level 1, which I called safe to be, or not even there, and the team have to help get that person to level 1.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it could be the person themselves has to go through some journeying to get to level 1 themselves. It's possible either way.
Yeah, it takes 2 to tango.
Takes two to team tango. Okay.
With the second tango element being the rest of the team.
The rest of the team, yes. I sort of imagine this. It once happened in the British dancing thing, where there was one of the main judges was dancing, and he had 9 of the women in elegant dresses all partnering with him, and I thought it looked very false to me. But I get the idea. I do get the idea. Team together. Do you think there's any? If I was a coach and I wanted to teach on this, I might go, how could you help a team do a measurement of this themselves? So just, this is unscripted. So it's a question of what do we think? So we've got these 4 levels. How might we use them with the team? That, by the way, while I'm giving Ricardo some time to think about it, just remind anyone on the call, on the Clubhouse, if you're interested in this, if you've got a contribution, feel free to put your hand up. We'll bring you up on stage. We'll hear your contribution. Those people on stage, if you want to say something, just take your mic off. Oh, JC, you took your mic off there.
Yeah, I was funny because when you were starting to go to the place of individual versus team, my brain was there as well, and I kept thinking of the parallel to this. In order to get the team to the certain level, so whether getting the team to level 2, level 3, level 4, the parallel to me is actually in the 5 dysfunctions of a team concept as well, where in order at the base level, so if you've read that book or read any of the books that go with it to overcome the 5 dysfunctions, you need that base level of trust, right? So the triangle you were talking about, Ian, is exactly what's displayed in the 5 dysfunction side.
Yes,
and
it
so
is, yeah.
Right. So there's 2 different approaches. When I'm looking at this from a coaching or from a Scrum Master perspective, I think number 1, if I want to get the team to a certain place, maybe I start focusing on creating the 5 dysfunctions overcoming aspect, right? Let's do that. But at an individual level, to get them to a certain place, you're going to have two types of conversations. One is with individual team members about other team members and how to help them, but also you as a person helping that individual team member find their voice and find where we'll say the friction is and letting them get to that next level. But those are just 2 points of view from me.
Okay, so you're seeing a comparison with the 5 dysfunctions work and how that sort of can be built over time. I think that sounds reasonable. What do you think, Ricardo?
Yeah, totally reasonable. This probably focuses a lot more on the trust angle of the 5 dysfunctions. So this could almost be a breakdown of the trust of a way to get to that basic trust level.
Oh, so you could maybe see the 4 levels we've talked about as sub-levels within getting to good trust.
Yeah, not that I haven't thought about the overlap with the others. There will definitely be overlap with the other 4, but of the 5, this is the one that has the strongest correlation. So if you need to bring a team to a trust level, you kind of could use these as a tool.
Okay, that can make some sense. I'm just thinking of the 5 levels. The 5 levels. Let's just talk about this for a minute. 5 dysfunctions. Level 1, absence of trust. So I could see all the levels being useful. They're the safety levels. Level 2, fear of conflict. So that does bring out a little bit of, again, challenger safety, doesn't it? If the dysfunction of the team is unable to feel comfortable with conflict.
Yeah, state 4 is kind of the bridge between the two. So
yeah,
you could say almost that the first 3 levels are the trust, and then the 4th level will take you to the conflict level in the 5 dysfunctions. That's where the overlap is.
Yeah. And then the next overlap is lack of commitment, which, I guess
not covered here.
I guess you could say it's slightly covered. And then next ones are avoidance of accountability and inattention to results. So I think we're right to think, it's a lovely contribution, JC. I think we're right to think, and it is unscripted, so we're not pretending we've got this all in our heads. It looks to me like those levels really look at the first 2 in dysfunctions. But I like JC's treatment of the subject, that is something that's built up over time. And of course, there's a lot of research, and not just research, but lots of tools on how a team might measure itself for 5 dysfunctions. So maybe what we could think about is how a team might measure itself for the 4 levels, or the 4 stages, as it were. Safe to be, safe to ask, safe to give, safe to challenge.
If a team wanted to measure itself, I would come up with a set of 10 or 15 Spotify-like cards.
Tell me more. I'm not sure I know what Spotify-like cards means, mate, so maybe you could help me.
I use them so many times. So you have the Spotify model, comes the Spotify team assessment. You can Google it and see. I hear some.
Team health.
I love this one.
The squad health check model.
Oh, the Spotify squad health check model. Lovely. I actually do know it. I just didn't. I didn't have it in my head at the right moment.
I called it by a different name, like everything, like I do to everything. Yeah, but what I would do is I would design something like this. And why did I say that I would have 12 or 15 cards? So that we could get not just zeros and ones, right? So if you have a few cards that are correlated with 1 or 2 of these levels. But of course, it wouldn't be the Spotify ones, because the Spotify ones are about speed, ease to release, fun, etc. But I would create a game around that if I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you do the same kind of thing with. So where Spotify's got these levels of like support, learning, mission, porn, or players, you would come up with something similar to that, but use the technique of the Spotify cards.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I would gamify it. The first game, you are the expert in games, so you probably could come up with much better ways. Being Ricardo, I would just copy Spotify, come up with a few sentences that would correlate strongly with contributor safety versus not, and then put them playing and see the results.
I think it's a good model. I might think between now and next week, and that might be I think there's 2, because we're near the end of our time now. I think we've got two areas I might like to go further on next week. One is, how does a team measure itself? And the other is, we're still in this nonsense of COVID. How does psychological safety work on Zooms and digital versus in the room? That might be something to go at. So maybe we could take a quick input from anyone. Would you rather we go to, what about digital psychological safety? Would you rather go a bit more into how we might help
digital.
A team? Let's go digital next week. That's your thought, is it?
Sunil actually had a very good post around that today with an internal card from ThoughtWorks. I saw it on LinkedIn.
Okay.
So we could copy with pride some stuff from there.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, as I get the music going, that's where I'm going. Let's just do a quick tense check. Anyone in the Clubhouse audience who wants to make a contribution or even just say hello? Do you know what? We got Chris with us. I haven't spoken to Chris for far too long. So Chris, even if you don't want to say anything, please come up and just say hello. I love your voice. Every time I see something from you, Badass Agile, every time I see something, mate, I think, I must get in touch with Chris. How have I lost connection to my good friend Chris? And I've just seen you there in the audience, mate. Do you want to come up and just say hello for a second? Can I invite you up? I think I can invite you up. So hopefully, Chris, you've got an invite. Yay, Chris.
Hey, and how are you, my friend? It's nice to see you. How are you?
Well, it is just way too long. Somehow we've lost connection. And it's weeks and weeks and weeks. I've no idea how and why.
Right. No worries. Why don't we, I don't want to waste the crew's time here, but why don't we make arrangements to talk maybe next week?
Yeah.
Why don't we make Chris our special guest? I know very few people that could contribute more to the topic.
That is a brilliant.
Happy to join whenever you would like. Something different. I'll be there.
Chris, would you mind being at what we call our expert panel? Where,
it would be an honor. Just tell me how I can serve. I'll be there.
Fabulous. And I've got to tell you, my emotions are quite high because I haven't been in touch with Chris for ages, and Chris is one of the world's best encouragers. In fact, you won't know this, Chris, but a conversation we had about art and podcasts is why we do this, because you encouraged me.
Wonderful. I've been checking on you, my friend, to see how your podcast is going. I know you still have the first one, the your ministry one, but haven't seen anything on the Agile side lately. So very keen to hear what you're up to.
Yeah. We record this every Friday. Goes out. We do adverts and things as well. It's a Ricardo is one of our crew. Does some technical wizardry pokery, and we put it out live on YouTube, live streaming, podcasts. Marvelous. I think we're doing Telegram soon as well. So.
Oh, wonderful! So happy to hear.
Yeah, Chris. Yes. So let me make sure I message you later. We obviously have numbers, so let me message you. Yeah. We'll arrange that as well. And just as we finish, Joel, you've come up onto the stage as well. Just want to say hello. Maybe you can give us some of your, as Chris would say, some of your fire. That's the phrase Chris uses a lot, I love. So, hi Joel.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Good morning. Thanks for this great chat on the four levels of psychological safety. So I missed the fourth one. I think you said the first one was safe to ask, steely question, for example, safe to give or contribute, safe to challenge. I missed, what was the fourth one?
Well, what you've actually missed is the first one. You missed the first one because the first one was safe to belong or safe to be.
Oh, safe to belong. Thank you. My question is, in your experience, which one of these is the most prevalent and most difficult to achieve, and any tips to resolve it?
That's a great question. Thank you very much for the question, Joel. I mean, depends on the company, doesn't it? It's culture. I would say in some cultures, the safe to be just isn't even there, let alone anything else. To some degree, I think JC was saying it's a sort of like a triangle of dysfunctions. Teams kind of, it gets better. So what's the most difficult one? I mean, I think getting to safety give can be quite hard. That seems to me to be from safe to ask to safe to give is in my opinion, this is just Ian talking now, my opinion, that's probably the biggest move. Don't know what you think, Ricardo.
Yeah, 2 to 3 is the hardest. After you have 3, 4 is kind of a natural next step.
Yeah, you've crossed the Rubicon, you've moved into the new territory, as you say.
Yeah.
To go from 3 to 4 is a bit more natural.
Where you as a coach and management needs to help the most, because in stage 4, you start to go beyond the boundary of the team. That's where you find most of the impediments, because it's not just the rules of the team, it could be a lot the rules in the organization that become the impediments.
That's right. I always imagine the team like we do some stuff on organic that we talk about a lot. I always imagine the team like a plant that's growing. And it grows and grows, and then it becomes pot bound by the pot, not by the team. That suddenly the environment's stopping it, and that's when the real joy of coaching is, when you can repot the team, or perhaps more accurately, break the pot so that it can carry on growing.
Yeah, but it depends on the team. If, for example, if it's new people joining an existing team that has been doing things the same way for a long, long time, stage 4 could be very difficult in that team. If it's a newly formed team, stage 4 will mostly come from the outside, and then we have to report the team after they have grown. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, in a high safety culture, even getting to 4 safety challenge could be quite a hard thing to do because, nobody wants to make a mistake with lives and things like that. You're not going to work. You're not going to work for aerospace or Boeing and go, do you know what? Maybe we could try this new wing design on our next plane with 500 people on it. That's never going to work, is it? So, all right.
It's tricky because you need to keep this space safe. In one moment, it can be unsafe.
You can flip back. You mean is this like a Cynefin thing? Oh, I'm seeing the Zoom has ended. Okay, no worries at all. So we need to finish anyway, but this is an area to talk about more, I think, which is how we do that. So thanks very much for today, everyone.